If you're in government contracting and you're chasing set-aside contracts as a small business, SDVOSB, A-Day, HubZone, WSB, any of those, this episode is for you. Because the fastest way to lose an award is not always price. Sometimes it's structure. Specifically, the structure where you look like a prime contractor on paper, but your subcontractor is doing the primary and vital work in real life. That is what people mean by set-aside fronting. And if it crosses into willful misrepresentation, that is where SBA ineligibility can turn into Department of Justice attention. Yes, DOJ. Yes, court. Yes, not always, but the risk is real. This is part 2 of our middleman strategy series. Today, we're going to go through a red flag briefing. Short, practical, slightly uncomfortable, but very helpful. Before we do, just quick disclaimer, this is educational, not legal advice. I'm not your attorney. I'm just your person and your friend who does not want you to learn this lesson the expensive way. All right, here's the core idea. Set-aside programs are built on a simple expectation. If you are the small business prime, you should actually control the contract and perform meaningful work. The government is not handing out set-aside so a large business can run the contract while you hold the clipboard and the invoice template. So now let's talk about the patterns that make competitors file protests and make agencies and the SBA ask who is actually running this thing. Red flag number 1. The prime is basically invoicing and forwarding emails, and the subcontractor runs day-to-day operations. The subcontractor hires, manages, supervises, and directs the team. The subcontractor runs the meetings, the subcontractor makes the decisions, the prime is the billing department with a logo. If your role can be described as billing and vibes, you're not the prime, you're a rapper. Red flag number 2, the subcontractor supplies all the key personnel, not a few, all of them. Program manager, technical lead, site lead, the people who actually make performance happen. Now, ask the uncomfortable follow-up. Can the prime replace those people if needed? Can you hire and fire? Can you approve substitutions? Or are you functionally stuck because the subcontractor controls the bench and the relationships? If the answer is, we cannot really change anything without the sub, that is unusual reliance energy, and SBA doesn't love that. Red flag number 3, the proposal reads like the subcontractor is the performer and the prime is the narrator. You've seen this before. The subcontractor's past performance is everywhere. The subcontractor's resumes are everywhere. The subcontractor's tools and certifications are everywhere. The subcontractor's solution architecture is everywhere. And the prime's contribution is a paragraph that says, we'll manage the subcontractor. If your proposal makes the subcontractor the hero of the movie and you are basically submitting your own plot twist, well, that doesn't work. Let's get into red flag number 4. The subcontractor wrote the proposal or did most of the heavy lifting and the prime reviewed it. Here's a gut check that is brutally effective. If someone asked who designed the technical approach and the staffing plan, would everyone immediately point to the subcontractor? If the subcontractor built the solution, the subcontractor is not a subcontractor in spirit, they are the engine. Red flag number 5, the subcontractor owns the customer relationship. If the government calls the subcontractor first for operational issues, scope questions, staffing, performance concerns, and the prime finds out later, this is a big problem. The prime should be the government-facing interface. If the agency sees the subcontractor as a real operator, your prime status starts looking cosmetic. Red flag number 6, the prime does not own the management controls. This is the stuff that people ignore because it's not exciting, but it is exactly how you prove you are in charge. Who owns the integrated schedule? Who runs the status meetings? Who manages risks? Who owns the QA plan? Who approves deliverables before they go to the government? Who signs off on corrective actions? Who controls the escalation plan? If those answers point to the subcontractor, you are wearing the prime jersey while someone else is scoring the points. Now, let's talk about consequences because urgency matters. Most of the time, the first hit is business pain, size protests, eligibility challenges, delays, lost awards, terminations, reputation damage. But here's where it gets serious. If a company knowingly misrepresents who controls the work, who performs the primary and vital requirements, or who is actually eligible to receive the set-aside benefits, that is where False Claims Act theories show up and where DOJ scrutiny can enter the chat. Not every messy teaming arrangement becomes a criminal case, but a lot of ugly cases start with the same storyline. A paper prime setup, and then somebody tries to hide it. You know the story. The goal is simple. Do not build a structure you cannot explain with a straight face. Now, the good news, if you recognize yourself in any of those red flags, you can fix a lot of this before you submit, and definitely before performance makes it work. Here are the fix it this week type moves you can take. Fix number one, put real control with the prime visibly. The prime is a government interface. The prime runs the meetings. The prime owns the schedule. The prime owns QA. The prime owns performance management. The prime approves deliverables before submission. The prime controls key personnel decisions, not in theory, in writing, in process, and in practice. Fix number two, engineer real prime performance, not just prime paperwork. Make sure your staffing plan shows prime leadership in the roles that matter. Make sure your management approach includes real artifacts and cadence, a risk register, a quality plan, an issue log, a schedule, a governance rhythm, a process for acceptance. When you create artifacts, you create proof. When you create proof, you reduce ambiguity. When you reduce ambiguity, you reduce risk. Let's go to fix number three. Watch the set-aside signals that scream unusual reliance. If the subcontractor provides all the key people, all the past performance, all the tools, all the relationships, and you cannot perform without them, you need to rebalance the team. And prime capability, add that prime capability, add prime leadership, add prime past performance where possible, and reduce single point dependency. Fix number four, align the story across proposal, staffing, and reality. This is where people get burned and get burned often. They write a proposal that says prime leads, and then the org chart and resumes say sub is actually leading. And then performance says, yeah, the sub is actually leading. Pick one reality and make sure the whole package matches it. The government and SBA care a lot less about your intentions than they care about what the structure actually does. And that's episode 2. If you missed episode 1, they're right there. You can click on that or go down to the comments and you'll see a link to that video below. Really important part of the series. Next, we're going to go through pass-through prime risk and profit on air, even outside of set-asides. And then in part 3, we're going to go about a playbook, how to structure teaming, price it, and write proposal language that makes a contracting officer think, yep, this prime is actually running the contract. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe. Got any questions? Make sure to put them below. I'd love to hear what set-asides you play in: SCVOSB, 8A, HubZone, WOSB, or just simple small business. And honestly, tell me which red flag you see most often. Do the set-aside work, own the set-aside control, and please don't be a paper prime. See you next time.